Hey there. Are you ready to build the ultimate lead magnet for your business? If so, I'm sharing 7 tips for creating a compelling lead magnet in today's episode. Now, with the right strategies, you can create an effective lead magnet that convinces potential customers to opt in for your offer and boost your sales. I also created a cheat sheet of top converting lead magnet types that I have curated from significant online marketing companies and resources that have tons of data at their disposal, and they compile it all and analyze it and share it with us. So I curated those for you, which you can access a link to at the top of the show notes below, or you can go to theathenaarena.com/top L as in lead, M as in magnet, ideas. That's all one word, top LM ideas. But before we get into today's exciting topic about generating leads for your business, my name is Liz Garcia. I'm your happy, insightful, and perceptive host of AthenaArenaRadio.com. Welcome to episode 17 of the Athena Arena podcast, which is the content and digital marketing strategy academy for aspiring 6, 7, and 8-figure, what I call Wonder Woman brands, and mastering your inner game. And for all you brilliant men out there, don't be fooled by the whole Wonder Woman thing. This is meant for you too. So let's get to today's topic. And before I share my 7 tips for creating a compelling lead magnet, let's cover the basics. First of all, what are lead magnets and why are they so significant? And if you've been to most websites, especially big ones, you know you get a pop-up window right when you enter the site that has some sort of offer, compelling offer, that encourages you to give them your email address in exchange for whatever that offer may be, whether it's a discount, a cheat sheet, a checklist, take a quiz, all kinds of goodies that can be a lead magnet on that homepage of yours. Now, lead magnets are any type of content that can drive leads into your business. They can include quizzes, ebooks, white papers, webinars, some sort of, 7-day challenge, 30-day challenge, tools like fun tools that it's going to always be used by your ideal clients. Mobile apps can be lead magnets for sure. I've created a mobile app for that purpose. Discount codes and so much more. And we're going to cover some more of the top ones in this podcast, and then you can also go and download the cheat sheet lists that I created as well. And what lead magnets do is provide users with something valuable in exchange for their email addresses and some personal information. By creating a lead magnet, you can capture leads from across various channels, including social media, organic search, of course, paid search. This is how you really start generating more leads, is really spread it out all over the place so people can find you wherever they may be at online. So let's start with tip number 1. I promised 7 tips. Let's start with number 1. Tip number 1 is do the research. And my number 1 thing on my online marketing checklist is to do the research first. And as a search engine optimization and search engine marketing expert, I've been doing this stuff since 1999, but officially since 2009. You want to do keyword marketing research is what I recommend, because it's an easy tool to find online. You can find free keyword research keyword research tools and find out what are people looking for. Don't try to guess when it comes to your lead magnet, especially if you're not really sure. You got to do some research. So I always start with keyword marketing research because Google's got all the goods. Google knows what people are looking for, and they compile all the data, so you can see like how many people a month are looking for this particular item, what type of keyword phrase are they using to find it, and make sure you're aligned with that. If you're a novice or you're struggling with generating leads, let's go find out first what the heck are people looking for. So again, there's keyword research tools that are free online, and then there's great services that I use like ubersuggest.com, semrush.com. I mean, these are tools for marketers, but certainly for individuals that have their own companies, you're going to find tons of very valuable information doing that type of research and understanding the market better. And I want you to keep in mind that if you haven't created a lead magnet yet, then you got to realize there's a lot involved in it. And you don't have to do the whole blueprint for this that I'm going to tell you about right now, but down the line you're going to have to add on in order to optimize those conversions and sales you're hoping to generate from your lead magnet. So just a quickie on what a lead magnet journey looks like. So first of all, you got to decide what the lead magnet's going to be. Then you're going to decide the creative aspect of it. What's it going to require? Is it a video? Is it audio? Is it some infographics? Is it a white paper? Is it an ebook? What type of skills or talent is going to be required to create this thing, right? So that's number one, creating the actual asset. Number two is creating an opt-in form or a landing page where people can access that lead magnet and opt in for it. So there's your opt-in form or landing page. Then you've got to deliver the lead magnet in some sort of email automation stream. And you typically would want to create an email automation stream of anywhere from 4 to 7 emails so you can nurture that lead and bring them more into your business and understanding what it is that you do and how you serve them. So you've got the development of the lead magnet, the development of the opt-in form or landing page, and then the email journey. And then you're going to want to share this in social media, on podcasts, videocasts, wherever you're broadcasting. And that's quite a bit of work and understanding. So you don't want to spend that much time and effort without having a decent idea of what the potential is for your lead magnet based on search volume and interest that you'll find online. Okay, tip number 2 is, so tip number 1, do the research. Tip number 2, develop the right lead magnet for your audience. Now, first you got to know, are you targeting the right people with your lead magnet? And it's essential to develop a lead magnet that speaks to your audience's specific pain points and interests. And remember, you can create lead magnets for different aspects of the journey of your ideal audience, which is what I do. So as an example, as a digital marketer and website designer, social media market, I do all of that digital marketing stuff, email marketing too. I have quite a few different types of audiences that I can serve, like people that just need a content marketing strategy. There'll be a lead magnet for that. People that just need search engine optimization. There's something different. That's a different type of lead magnet. People that want a lead magnet strategy. I would develop a package for that. And then people that need branding. And then just a new website or revamping a website, all kinds of stuff. So I have tons of opportunities to create lead magnets for different types of audiences. You got to consider that for yourself. And if you're just starting out, you want to create a broad lead magnet that would appeal to many people in your audience. And then you'd have to kind of narrow down what they need through like an email automations sequence, where you can split them off depending on what their interests are. You get them in the email, Then you ask them, what are they interested in? Like maybe you have 5 different things that you do. You can let them check off what they want to hear about. And then once they opt into, like, say that's a group or segment, like on my email marketing, I would segment people that are interested in branding, segment people that are interested in social media. You see what I'm saying? And then those segments could trigger other automations for you in the email journey. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure you're speaking to the right audience, first of all, but then segment them too, because the more you can segment, the better your conversions are going to be. So just in regards to lead magnets that are not performing well, and if you did them yourself and you're not familiar with marketing and you did your own website or you're a do-it-yourselfer, you got to realize if a lead magnet isn't doing well, the number one problem is likely you're trying to go after the wrong audience. You're putting it in front of the wrong audience. You got to, like your personal Facebook page as an example, that's not going to deliver necessarily a strong conversion rate or engagement rate. So make sure you're putting it in front of the correct audience. And as you brainstorm ideas for your lead magnet, you want to zero in on one thing that solves the problem most people in your target market are having. So this is for beginners or people that are just starting out. You got to make sure you know what the lowest hanging fruit is and how that helps everyone in your target audience. Okay, so that's tip number 2, is to make sure that lead magnet gets in front of the right audience. Tip number 3 is that headline, when you create an opt-in form or a landing page, the headline and the subtext of that offer, whatever that offer is, has got to be really compelling, concise, and to the point. And a couple weeks ago when I was talking about optimizing your website, I shared the website MailChimp.com, which I use for my email service provider. And if you go to MailChimp.com, they have a super simple, compelling, and likely super high converting, because they're a $1 billion company. They know what they're doing in marketing. But I want you to look at that and then model it for your own business. So if you go look at it, their headline is big and simple. Turn emails into revenue. 4 words, that's it. And then they say, win new customers with the number 1 email marketing and automations brand that recommends ways to get more opens, clicks, and sales. So you're speaking to that pain point. What do you want? I as a marketer, I want more opens, clicks, and sales, that's for sure. And if MailChimp has got the data, which I know they do, that's going to help me to convert better, that's the service I want, just as an example. So I love to use that as a very simple example for all of you to go model. So go to MailChimp.com. They're huge marketers. They have the marketing team and budget and wherewithal to do advanced split testing and figure out what works, what doesn't work. That's a great place for you to start. So what I recommend is you come up with a few headlines and subtext and take a survey. Like throw it out there on social media if you have a good following, or an email. You can just throw out one at a time and ask people to comment. Did this move you? How did you feel about this? Were you eager to, you can ask them questions and find ways to comment, or send out a survey to your best customers. Like ask them for help on what would move the needle for them, make them want to take action. And it's so funny, I'm always surprised when I think I know what will resonate most. And I recently did a survey for a title of I'm creating a content marketing strategy online course. And I created 3 or 4 titles and 3 or 4 subtexts. And the one, I was super surprised by the one that outranked all of them by like 80% of the choices were this one particular one that resonated most with people. It was super informative to me and compelling that I'm like, oh, okay, I got to stop thinking I know it all and ask people what resonates with them. Okay, on to tip number 4. So tip number 3 is on those opt-in forms and your landing pages for capturing leads, that title of the opt-in form has got to be compelling, and then that subtext that says, this is why you're here, I'm going to solve some problems for you. Okay, tip number 4 is to create an attractive opt-in page or form that makes a great first impression, right? So you want to design an opt-in page or form that looks good, reads well, short and concise, and entices people to enter their email addresses. That's key to getting more leads. You want to make sure that form is engaging, easy to use, and doesn't contain too many form fields. So there's arguments to be made, like how much information do you want to ask for, and that's really determined on your business. You got to understand your market, and you got to understand who you want to work with too. So, highest converting opt-in forms have one field, and that's the email address. That's it. There's an upside and a downside to that. And from someone who's been doing this since 2009, I think I want a highly engaged email list, not some tire kickers that just want your freebie. So the ego wants all the leads they can get, but when you find out you're paying for these leads, like in your email service provider, the bigger your list, the more you're going to pay for that service. But if 75% of that list is no good, you're wasting a lot of money on low value leads. So I would suggest, it depends on your business, of course, ask at the minimum for a first name and their email address. And then when you create the email automation, you can at least address them with their first name, which is really helpful in converting as well, because it looks like you know them, to some extent, and they were willing to give you their first name. And there's great reason to ask for phone numbers these days in some businesses. Especially great if you're going to do SMS marketing, which is text-based marketing, which is huge conversions, which I'm not going to go into that today. And I'm just starting to dip my toes into that, starting to collect phone numbers so that people can receive text notifications about new posts or podcasts or whatever that may be. That's really the way things are going, and the open rate for text messages is huge relative to email. Okay, so tip number 4 is make sure those opt-in forms and landing pages look good, but there's also argument to be made they can look like crap too, depending on your audience. You got to test them, which is a tip coming up. We're not going to talk about that. Well, yes, it is. Yes, next tip number 5 is to split test everything. Now, if you've developed your own brand identity, your brand and your messaging, and you have a visual brand kit, then you want that opt-in form and landing page to match your brand, really, as best you can. I mean, there's certainly tons of evidence out there that really crappy-looking pages can convert well, but it depends on, what you want to do. Personally, I like to stick with my brand look, overall feel, and because that's going to be more memorable, I think, in the long run, to establish a brand identity through colors and image choices and the messages that you communicate, that type of thing. But I just want to give you a heads up, when you split test stuff, you could be really surprised that some, really amateurish looking opt-in form could convert better than a more professional one. But again, that depends on your business. So let's talk about tip number 5. This is a more advanced marketing technique, and there's some software and WordPress website themes that I use. I use Thrive themes is what I use to develop marketing materials on my website, and I have a WordPress website. So opt-in forms, landing pages, headlines can be tested. all types of different types of opt-in forms that pop up on the page, or they're embedded in the page. All kinds of fun tools when you start split testing things. And I highly recommend some sort of form. I'm not sure about this, but I just switched over to ConvertKit for my email service provider. And I'm not sure if I can create a split test opt-in form, but I bet I can. And anytime that you can split test something, you're going to want to do it, because you'll be so surprised by your results, because you think you know what's good, and then the testing will tell you what people are responding to. And according to my last marketing podcast, which was like 2 weeks ago, I shared a blog post from Neil Patel, who's a famous, exceptional digital marketer that I follow. Most companies have found that A/B testing has become their preferred conversion optimization method and the most successful method for optimizing any type of conversion. So what does split testing mean? It simply means you need to test different aspects of your lead magnet opt-in form or landing page. So, for example, you don't test a lot of things at once. You isolate one thing that you're going to test at a time. So here's an example. I'll create an opt-in form, a pop-up form that has an image on it. And images are always good to have, especially with people in it. Things tend to convert better when there's a picture of a person in it. And even better if that person is looking at your title or call to action. That's another little tip I can share with you. Happy to share with you. And what I will typically do is I'll create 3 to 4 versions of an opt-in form. 4 is kind of overkill. Start with 3. And I'll test the image first. So each one of those forms there will be all the same except the image. And I'll let it run for a couple of months. Or if I'm running paid traffic to it, I'll let it run for a week to see what converts better. And this is what I did on Facebook ads, because you can split test images on Facebook ads and Google AdWords too. You can test images. And it's so interesting to see which ones convert better. So you always want to test those images, because I rarely write about what I think is going to convert better. And then once you find the images that works best, then you're going to test like the headline, right? Just the headline, not the subtext. So you're going to isolate each one of these elements as you tune this. And if you're a small business owner, I would say depends on how much traffic you get. Typically, you want a fair amount of traffic on on those forms before you change them out. But it's a good idea to run some paid ads for a month to a landing page to see how it works, so you can get right to the meat of the matter, like what's working, what's not working. And then you can shut off the ads unless they're doing really well. But that's a great way to test things, is either on paid ads on Facebook or on Instagram, Google Ads. You can do all sorts of image testing and headline and subtext testing. That's the fast way to it. The slow boat to China is just organically waiting people to show up to your website. So, anyways, tip number 5, split test everything. And if you can afford to pay to test things, you're gonna get results a lot quicker, so that you don't have to wait around and see what's going on. You can pivot when you need to and try something new if things aren't working. Okay, so there were some really interesting conversion optimizations that I shared from Neil's. And I don't think I shared this, but I shared the link to his blog post that has this information. So really interesting is you want to test the color of that button where you're saying, sign me up, get instant access. You know what they look like. Once you fill in the form, you push a button, and that button has a color. So here's an example of colors that have been tested. When someone turned a call to action button from green to red, it is shown to increase conversions by as much as 34%. That's pretty significant, especially when you're running paid traffic to that form. You want to use the colors that convert best. And if you go to Amazon, they use yellow. Is it yellow? A bright yellow button? I mean, it's a good idea to go to huge marketing websites and huge retail websites, which I'm doing right now. So Amazon has a yellow button. And their brand colors are really kind of orange. Amazon is, that I'm looking at right now. Walmart brand colors are blue, and their buy now buttons are blue. So there could be like just type of branding thing too. They may be sticking with their brand colors and finding that works because it's, has some coherence with the whole page. Just something to think about. Etsy is interesting. They have black buttons with white text. And Walmart's all blue. Target's all red. So typically you'll see buttons that are in the warm colors like yellow, orange, red convert well. Green, I don't know so much, but you got to test it. You got to test it because you know your audience, you know your brand colors. You got to test and see what works. And there was another great conversion optimization that I put into action once I read this. I'm like, holy crow, I got to do this. So when you change a button from something that says see plans and pricing to get started today, it increased conversions by 252%. I saw that. I'm like, okay, I'm changing my buttons to get started today on many things. So I did that because why not give it a whirl? Okay, we're on to tip number 6. Do some research to see what your competitors are using for lead magnets. Like, what are they using? And there's tons of lead magnet ideas. And like I said, I have that one that you can download in the link at the top of the show notes below. Or you can go to theathenaarena.com/top LM ideas, all one word. So, a great idea where you can really get feedback is, say you have a competitor or someone who similar, in your industry that has a big following on YouTube. I'd go and look and see what their top viewed posts, what's the topic of their top viewed videos. That's a great place to start, along with the keyword research, of course. But see what your competitors are doing. And in some of those keyword research tools like I use, like Ubersuggest, if I put in a keyword phrase, it's going to show me the top performing pages for that. And then you can go right to that page and see what they're using for a lead magnet on that page, just as an example. So here are the top performing. This is according to Neil Patel, and HubSpot's another big marketing company. I get Neil Patel's a marketing company. HubSpot's a marketing company. These guys know how to do testing, and they know what converts. So their top lead magnets, first of all, was an ebook, was number 1, which that depends on your market. You got to consider, is anyone going to spend the time to read it, or is it going to end up in a file folder like many of my ebooks do? You got to think about that. You got to really make that ebook compelling, and maybe you provide some sort of worksheet, like opportunity to, like I have it's not an ebook, it's more of a starter kit, but in any event, you get what I'm saying. And many people, marketers, create books that they send to you for free, but you just pay for the shipping. So that's another avenue you could take as well. You actually get a book into someone's hand, they pay for the shipping, or you have a free downloadable book on Amazon. There's ways to go about this. So ebooks are one of them. My only concern about an ebook is it's not digestible immediately necessarily, unless someone's looking for more advanced services that require some careful thought and consideration. You got to consider the audience, like who's reading it, what are they looking for, and is the expertise I'm going to provide in an ebook something that they're going to want to consume right away. Next up is webinars. And webinars, I took a course from A.B. Porterfield, who is a exceptional digital marketer, and she is famously known as one who teaches Digital Course Academy, which I took her course this year. She's awesome. And she shares all of her top insights over 14 years in this online marketing business. So she was very worth the price of admission to invest in her course, and she taught me a lot, which I'll share with you. So webinars is her go-to for high converting sales. Webinars. So it depends on what that ticket item is that you're selling, whether a webinar is appropriate or not, or is it overkill. You got to consider that. And there's a fair amount of production and cost in paying for people to come to a webinar. You got to think about that. Like, how can you generate registration leads into a webinar? Typically, running paid traffic is going to be the fastest route if you can afford it. The next one is what I employ, and that's mini courses. And my opt-in is the top 10 online marketing checklist. So you get a checklist, which is a quickie download one-page document. And then I follow it up with an email series, so that email 1 or 2 is like, what's number 1 on my online marketing checklist? I do like a 5-minute or less video. And you get a little bit of training. And you want to keep those videos pretty short and sweet, like less than 5 minutes for sure. Under 3 is probably preferable. Depends, again, on the audience and the topic. And I'm an affiliate partner with a company called Sounds True that sells education, mind, body, spirit related transformational online courses and books. And they shared with me that their top converting lead magnets are video based, number 1, and then audio based, number 2. So interesting to know. If you're trying to sell online courses, you might want to take the lead from Sounds True. They're a pretty significant player in the personal development and spiritual growth transformation business. Okay, so that's so ebooks was 1. This is on Neil Patel's list. Ebooks are number 1. Webinar, again, you got to know your audience. Webinars number 2. Mini courses number 3. That's what I'm employing. Checklists number 4. Now, the beauty of checklists is they're quick reads, 1 page. There you go. The checklist I created, I think, is going to be more like a 2-pager, maybe 1, just because I want the fonts to be legible. So it might be a 2-pager for that reason, but it's going to be a quick and easy read and just a reference. Like, I got to go check my checklist. Let's see if, you can check things off. You're like, okay, I tried this lead magnet. I tried that lead, simple tasks there. And then the next on the list is a guide or a starter kit. Now, Amy Porterfield she shared that one of her best converting lead magnets is a starter kit. So if you've listened to my webinar, I created a personal branding starter kit, like how to do a starter kit for branding your business. So I took her lead on that. Let's do a starter kit. And what's interesting about them is it requires engagement and requires thought. There's space in the starter kit to write down your ideas and thoughts, because I'll ask a question like, get you to start thinking about branding and all different aspects of branding. So those are the top 5 from Neil Patel's list. And then there was some crossover from the HubSpot list. So they're all kind of in alignment there. So tip number 7. And this I've known about for quite a while and really started to employ it now that I have a podcast. And I do a lot of blogging and YouTube channel, stuff like that. So develop lead magnets for your blog posts, your podcasts, your videos. And as you can see today, I developed a lead magnet just for this podcast. Because if you're going to create a blog post, a video, or a podcast where you're sharing valuable information, it's a nice idea to give people that next step. All right, what's the next step I can take with you? Or how can I make this podcast more valuable to you? What kind of takeaway can you take home and start putting things into action? So when you start developing lead magnets and you're doing a fair amount, if you're creating a lot of content like I am, podcasts, blog posts, you want to, instead of writing a ton of blog posts as an example, do 12 a year. This is for people, if you don't think you can keep up with one a week, do one a month. But make sure that blog post, you've really done some keyword research around it. As an example, this is another thing I do. I'm like, I start with the top, if I were to advise you on some blog posts, part of my service is let's find the 12 top blog posts to put your attention on this year. And then we develop a strategy, like what's the lead magnet going to be? Because the point of the blog post is what? To develop customers, create sales. So you got to think through the strategy of everything that you're creating so it helps build your business, build engaged followers, and have really standout customers and clients to just love and refer everything that you do. Okay, so the HubSpot article that I found, which I'll share with you, was all around creating lead magnets for content, like I'm talking about. And they had some really great ideas around this. So like if you have a blog post or a podcast, some other types of lead magnets. Number one was a resource library. And I have a resource libraries in my other website, the Mind, Body, Spirit Network, where I put together resources for people that are interested in energy healer training or doing energy healing on themselves. I have an entire landing page and resource library for that type of thing. I also have another one for like shamanism and sound healing. So I have a whole resource library, which is a great way to get people more engaged in what you do. And it shows that you're curating things so that people don't have to go all over the web to find stuff. You as the expert can find good stuff that you would recommend to them. Another great lead idea is a template of any sort. How can you make someone's life easier? And just some examples that I can share would be like, I have a friend who's a wedding planner, and she's creating templates for how to plan your wedding, as an example. Or if you use Canva to create images for your social media posts, or you can create a template that people can use inside of Canva. And I have my friend who's the wedding planner. She uses the Asana for project and work management flow. And people are creating templates for Asana as an example. So any type of tool or template or workbook or worksheet or journal that you can create to help get people more organized. Organization is huge. There's a big interest in any type of tool to help people get better organized around things. That's a great lead magnet. Here's another great one. Private access to a group. I loved this one. And this is something I could do as a podcaster, as an example. I could say, opt into my private access group, and maybe that you'll receive podcasts that only the group will receive, just as an example. And then the next one, which Neil Patel uses he really encourages this. This requires a little more development. You may have to hire some developers to help you with this. But a tool or an app. You create a tool or an app. And I created a simple app for my website so that now I'm on people's phone. Right? There's a pretty little icon for the Mind, Body, Spirit Network, my other website, that's right on people's phone. I mean, that's a great brand awareness opportunity there. And lastly is sharing secret insights. And you can share this type of thing in a blog post, a podcast, wherever. And some examples were my top converting email subject line. Like as a marketer, I'm like, yeah, I want to know. That's a lead magnet. I'm like, heck yeah, I want to know what your top converting email subject lines are. Or my top converting lead magnets. Or my top converting calls to action or or button colors. So secret insights that you have gleaned over years of experience and hundreds, if not thousands, of client encounters, you're going to have some wisdom and insights that would make a great lead magnet. So that's it for today's top 7 tips for creating a compelling lead magnet. Let's review them one more time. Number 1, do the research. Number 2, make sure that lead magnet is being put in front of the right audience. If it's not, you're going to have poor performance. Tip number 3, make sure the headline and the subtext are super compelling. Get people engaged and interested in what it is you have to offer. Tip number 4, make sure your opt-in pages or forums make a great first impression and really kind of match your brand your brand colors, your brand voice, your whole branding intention. Tip number 5, split test everything. I can't emphasize that one enough. Again, I understand it's a more advanced technique, requires different types of software to accomplish, but if you can hire someone to help you do split testing, run paid ads to split testing pages, there's plenty of resources, and I'm pretty sure, I just started ConvertKit, but something like your email service provider, many of them now, I know MailChimp has them, ConvertKit has them, Kajabi has them, the option to, the feature to create opt-in forms that can be split tested. That's the easy way to go about it, is to find a service provider like those that are already doing it without having what I invested in doesn't cost a lot of money, but it's a little more involved. So I use Thrive Themes in my WordPress website to have all of these split testing opportunities on many fronts. Number 6 is check out what your competition is doing. What are they using for lead magnets? What are their top converting, most engaged videos? Get some ideas there. And then the tip number 7 is start thinking beyond your homepage for generating leads. Think of a strategy when you're creating content like a blog. Less is more. Don't try to crank out a blog a week if you can't. I'd rather you do a blog a month and create a lead magnet that leads people from the blog to the next step. And make sure those blog posts are leading to business, not super too general. If you're putting that much time and effort into it, you want really engaged leads from it. So don't forget, again, there's a link at the top of the show notes to go get my top converting lead magnet ideas. It's a checklist. And or you can go to theathenaarena.com/top LM ideas, all one word. Thanks for joining me. I think next week we're going to do a Mastering Your Inner Game episode. I'm not sure of the topic yet. I want to kind of canoodle that around and see what pops up for you. I will see you next week.